But first, with the polls tightening, the last thing an expectant opposition needs is arrogance at the top. But goaded by the Prime Minister's reminder to voters that his team would be ready to govern from Monday, Anthony Albanese has gone too far today in his declaration that he'd get himself sworn in on Sunday so that he and Penny Wong could attend the Quad Leaders meeting in Japan. Now, hang on. Talk about cart before the horse. This bloke hasn't even won yet, and already he's talking about being sworn in early, jumping in the VIP jet and heading overseas. It's like Kevin Rudd all over again, except Albanese's no foreign policy expert and he's nowhere near as popular as Kevin 07 was. It's dismissive of voters. It smacks of arrogance. As the AEC, the Electoral Commissioner, confirmed today, the postal votes won't even be opened for counting until Sunday afternoon. We already know that more than 15% of the electorate have lodged a postal vote request. Now, I would have thought Labor might have learnt the lesson from last time, counting their electorate chickens before they've hatched, but it seems not. Right now, given how things are tightening up, it'd be a brave commentator who says they know how Saturday night will play out. Sure, the politicians, they've got to tell you they're confident right up until 6 o'clock. But the reality is that in an election race with little substantive policy on the table, the decision becomes more about the two men vying for the nation's top job, who they are, and whether you think they're up to it, than anything else. For those on the centre-right, in recent elections here and overseas, there's also been a consistent shy Conservative vote. Liberal or National Party voters, One Nation, perhaps Palmer too, who are sick of being hectored by PC elites who are loath to tell pollsters how they might actually vote for the ABC's anti-Christ candidate in Scott Morrison, or Donald Trump in the US, or Brexit or Boris Johnson in the UK. If the polls underestimate anything, it's much more likely to be that they underestimate the support the coalition might have compared to Labor. How much are these shy Conservatives a factor this time around? Well, hard to tell. But there's an interesting observation today picked up by Labor polling expert Kos Samaras out of the latest Essential poll. And it's that the coalition is polling ahead of Labor with voters over the age of 55, with men across the board, with Queenslanders, and voters living in outer suburban places and rural areas. Now, you've heard me say here for months and months and months, the seats where government is won or lost for the coalition are not the seats of the rich inner city elites where the so-called teal independents have captured a lot of attention. They're the seats the ABC are not discussing. Not the seats they are, the ones they are not discussing, that will determine if Albanese heads to the Lodge on the weekend or ends up political roadkill like his predecessor. In any event, it's one thing for the opposition leader wanting Australians to back him into the Lodge, only to pretty much pack his bags and leave almost straight away. But what happens in his absence? Well, you'll get the Manchurian candidate as acting PM from Tuesday. That's the invisible man of the campaign, the bloke they've had to hide away ever since his ridiculously pro-China background was uncovered by Sharri Markson. That's Labor's Deputy Leader Richard Marles. He becomes Deputy PM if Labor wins on the weekend, and then he becomes acting Prime Minister if and when Albanese heads to Tokyo. The bloke who sent his China speech to their embassy to vet before he flew to Beijing to deliver it. He's running the country from Tuesday. Now, another telling fact in Albanese's presumption that he'll be PM by Sunday is that while he's overseas in Japan, Labor's factional warlords will then meet, in his absence, to decide who is in his cabinet. He might be PM, but Labor doesn't give the Prime Minister the power to choose his cabinet, which in itself says everything. So the choice come Saturday becomes clearer and clearer, doesn't it? The bloke might be a bulldozer, but at least he's actually behind the controls against the other bloke who can't even choose his front bench and when he's away, gives us Beijing's man in Canberra as his stand-in. I reckon it's a pretty easy decision for me.